Well, good afternoon from a disappointingly not as warm as it was earlier in quite grey Peterborough. Quick one. Mine are never quick, you know that by now. I have to say hi to the fish. So I'm not sure what where you've caught up on. It's Sunday afternoon. I can just hear the two-tone horn of Sir Nigel Gresley hooting away in the background, and that'll be going on throughout the day, which is great if you're into trains. If you're not, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about, do you? We put the new fish in, it's going to be 2 weeks ago now, haven't we? Well, it's like they've never been anywhere else, to be honest. We've got the covers on at the moment, which is not great. I don't know if you can see. No, you probably can't. Look through the window again. This is Suey at the back. This Argy's spending quite a bit of time up. An hour cover. It's been a bit shy at the moment anyway. So that's good news. Now, we'd had a bit of flicking and flashing, and it being start of spring, feels like it now at least, we decided we'd do a scrape. That was the day after we got the fish, and there was a few flukes on a couple of them. I don't know if we've caught you up to date with this one. So we are halfway through a fluke treatment at the moment. And they're fine. Sorry boy was feeding from hand again yesterday, so obviously remembering a little bit, which is great. We'll keep an eye on the Chiba, because I suspect that might, well, it likes its food. As soon as it's easier, it's begging, so I suspect we might have some joy with that one. But anyway, let's talk about is what I'm doing today. Steve's already probably told you about this, which is he wants to do as a bit of a biological filter. So we've got some plants to put in. I'm halfway through. I've given that a little bit of a scrape out because obviously it's kind of full of weed, and the grids from the bottom are drying in the non-existent sun at the moment. So yeah, we went out last weekend and we bought a load of water plants to see what happens. Now, I've sort of done some Googling and I'm not really getting very far with how to plant them. So what we're thinking is we avoid too much soil. There's going to be a little bit of soil in just because I can't clean the roots completely today, so at first. But we are halfway through a fluke treatment and we're going to have to keep a really big eye on the fish because there is a chance we could introduce something nasty, so keep an eye on that. So the idea is clean the roots as much as we can to get rid of the as much of soil as possible, and then plant them in gravel. So at the moment, well, first one, actually I bought this to go in that pond, but I think it looks quite nice here. So this is a kingcup, native to the UK. As you see, the fish aren't long fed. These so far are looking healthy. We haven't had a visit from the heron, but you know, it's always due. But again, we're going to have to get a few more plants in here. We've got the iris, which is slowly gyrating in the breeze, and that will probably flower. We have some lilies coming up. I don't know if you can see through the water. And a couple of other odd things in, I can't remember what they are. And I'm not likely to remember what they are either. See this little sort of spiky, weedy thing over in that corner. So hopefully that'll give these fish a little bit more cover because, yeah, heron. It was Easter last year, so we really are due for another visit. And we've had the covers off, just it looks a bit nicer. Or the nets off, rather, that one. So, yeah, just to keep a bit of an eye out. What else have we got? So, some reedy things. Lobelia, because I like lobelia. Now, I always used to grow a really, really big lobelia tuber, which was about 6 foot, with gorgeous big red flowers. Now I'm struggling to buy those again, find that again, possibly because it's hallucinogenic, and mine died because it was end of life. So that's a lobelia. Now that's not native to the UK. Say hello to the blackbird. Oh, there he is. Say hello. Thank you. Got some more reedy things. Got some mint. Now that is native to the UK. Different type of mint there. So Gardener's Garters, and basically small reed mace. So hopefully we'll get some nice bulrushy things from that. And we'll sort of see what happens. So yeah, as you can see, they're all in pots at the moment. So I'm taking them out, taking the soil out and planting them in gravel that I'm thoroughly washing at the moment. The other thing about water plants is that I was quite keen that we try and get native plants as much as we can. Not massively successful because it does of course depend on what the garden centre has at the time. Now we tried watercress last year. That grew pretty well, died back as always. No, I didn't harvest any, although it's tempting. So I'm just not quite sure how clean that water is for human consumption. So a little bit of watercress we put in the goldfish pond, so we shall see if that grows back. It's already showing a little sign that it might. The idea of biological plants is, or biological filtration plants, is that they're quick growing and they have lots of roots. So yeah, and they help take up ammonia and things like that. Now the problem with a lot of quick growing stuff is that actually it's invasive if it gets into natural watercourses. Now Leicester last year we had the River Soar was right across with floating pennywort. You know, people were worried that people would fall out the pub and walk on it because it was so solid. And that's an escapee. Water hyacinth, that's another one which is quite clearly banned. But there's a lot of others. Parrot's feather, which we did have before we knew. Great oxygenator, grows really quickly. The more you cut it back, the more it grows. You know that. But you've got to be really careful that it doesn't get out into the watercourse. Now we got rid of ours. We did not get it into the watercourse, so yeah, not too unhappy about that. A lot of these plants that are invasive are banned. So I think about 5-6 years ago a lot of them got banned, and then there was a sort of moratorium of 2-3 years for stocks to run out before they stopped being sold. So hopefully, fingers crossed, none of what's available to buy is too invasive. However, because you never quite know what happens when something gets into an ecosystem that it's not used to. So I think you have to be really cautious. Obviously the iris we've got anyway, the lilies we've got, those are all native plants in Goldfish Pond. So yeah, you just sort of a note of caution, particularly with oxygenators, that you've got to be really careful. Anyway, yeah, that's a bit of a downer, but you see, these things you just don't know, do you? I didn't anyway. Yeah, so, oh, there's greenfinch up there. I don't know if you can hear that. That one, greenfinch. Got the garden full, it's great. Yeah, so we'll just come back to you for a couple of minutes when I've got some plants in. We'll see what it looks like, if you can see any of them. Some of them might be a bit small. We'll see. Okay, so getting there slowly. Some of them are going to be a little bit harder to remove as much soil as possible. This is taken out the pot. Now the pot was that size. As you can see, it was obviously pot bound and only been recently moved into a larger pot for sale. So yeah, we shall see what happens. There's been a couple like that. So yeah, rinsing off, trying to get as much of the soil off as possible, but some of them it's just not going to be possible. You can see that root ball's pretty tight. Oh, sorry, that's me drunk again. Right, so where are we to? I was just reminded of a friend the other day from uni. It's from Plymouth, that was what he said. So, yes, Goldfish Pond. So I decided to use the reed mace in the pond. So I'm using a little bit of this green membrane, which sort of fleece used around plants in winter, because that seems to last an awful lot longer than hessian. And I don't know if you see at the bottom, that real pale square at the bottom, that is, it's a purple plant, I can't remember what it's called when it comes up. So I've given the final last bits of aquatic compost from the plants to it to feed it, and hopefully that'll start to grow a bit more. The fish work out what's going on. So the idea of using the hessian is to try and protect the soil a little bit from the curious fish. I don't expect that gravel to stay in there for very long. And if we walk down to the main pond, well, I think it's time for feeding. They're all up. They're all running away. Except you. Because you think I'm going to feed you. Yeah, so all planted in gravel. The idea is that the roots will come out through the gravel, through the pot, and actually into the water. So this will end up, so you actually be able to take up the minerals from the water as well as the water flowing through the gravel. Gravel's all very washed till it runs clear because it's quite sandy. So we've got a mint here. So good and vigorous. Natural plant, as I said. Should have purple flowers, smells nice, although I wouldn't eat with it. Don't think they're particularly good for humans. But vigorous roots. I can't remember what this one's called, but it's a nice grassy thing. Variegated leaves with a bit of pink. Again, should be high. Lobelia just for a bit of fun. That should grow really quite tall with big red flowers, and we'll show you if it does. As you can see, that one was a little bit pot bound as well, so you couldn't get all the soil off that one. Another mint, so where the intake is, give it a bit of space, but again, that's hopefully got vigorous roots, so that should come out through the pot, which will make a difference. And then a nice greeny yellow reed, again, just for a bit of interest. So whilst a lot of them haven't actually got over the top of the box yet, we'll see what happens. And just if any of you were curious at all about the invasive non-native species, or IWNS as they're called, how to find out what is banned and what is not great for the ecosystem, the .gov.uk is the best website to use, because if you're really interested, it's quite a long list. You know, the usual things like Japanese knotweed, water hyacinth, Himalayan balsam, orange balsam, you know, the stuff that you see by waterways that's not great for them. But there's quite a large list on there, so if you're curious, that's where to find out. Anyway, probably bored you enough. Until the next one, take care folks, and I'll see you soon. Bye.